good at it at the beginning of the season. They were decisive, and now they're not. Anyway, Reddit read. Hottest commodities in the offseason. AR, attached. Yeah, I think that one's a big one. Mohawk, definitely a wild card for sure. Clay's a hundo P getting on the team. I would say that the Crim situation is interesting. And I'm very curious how fast we will hear a decision on the New York camp on what they want to do. Because Crim did not play particularly good at the end of the season. They qualified for champs, I get it, but Crim is not frying. And y'all know how Crim is behind the scenes. I don't got to say it. So I don't think his spot is 100% certainty. Prolute, honestly, guys, I don't think he's going to be on the top of options right now. He had a pretty okay stint with Optic, but I don't know if the teams you named, LAG and Minnesota, I just don't know if he's on those lists of players they want to target, like candidly. Don, I'm curious to see what happens with Donnie, but I think Paris hold the cards there. Bean's going to one of the EU team seems like a good shout. Yeah, that's usually how it goes, Kingdom, for Crim. But the problem with Crim is like, Crim is a player that's set in his ways, and it's not going to be a good fit for a lot of teams. So his options aren't infinite. That makes sense. No pun intended. That was an infinite esports joke. Subs, Hydra. Yeah, Hydra's a big one. Does he stay in New York? That's a good question. Nah, the PR, the fucking him. I'll say this. Him doing fucking promos on stage, I think is hilarious. Him calling out refs, I don't think it's hilarious. I think that's kind of a shady thing to do. Because the person he called out is super nice. Scott is super nice. And so I think that was a shady thing for him to do, and I'm sure he apologized. But it's not hurting his brand. In fact, most of the orgs kind of fucking like that shit, bro. So I would say take 0 guesses about Paris because you have no idea what direction they're going to go in. And they will take their sweet fucking time to do it. Unless they're changing their approach this season, but I don't think that they are. Otherwise, if they were more aggressive, we'd hear about now. ASIM should be their choice. I believe he has a team option. So that one's on LAG. And I think the org likes him. So my guess is they may try to figure out how to be a part of him, the whole LAG thing. Please explain your take last night of it. I don't think FaZe is locked for next year. Yeah, I don't think FaZe is locked for next year. It entirely depends about how today goes. If they win, yeah, they're locked. If they lose, I mean, they will have finished second at like a gazillion events this season. It's not I cannot sit here with 100% certainty and say that they will not make a change. I think that would be a fair to take. There's always an option that they think, oh, well, Alec wasn't super consistent this year, or maybe they absolutely drink the Kool-Aid and they think, oh, well, maybe we can somehow get a more consistent player than BZ, which I don't think they should do. I would say, here's what I'll say about it. I would say if I were in their situation, you probably run it back. But the point I was saying on the show is like, they're signed for next year, but it's a team option. It's not like a 2-year contract. It's likely going to happen that they're going to stick. But to say it is 100% yes, last night when we recorded the show that they were going to stick, that was a fair assessment on my end. Well, Man United lost. That's fucking comedy. Anyway, let's see the next thread. Or let's see your comments here. What we got? Tad, Scrappy, Afro, Hydra. Bro, this team sucks. I don't want to say it. This team has too many salvage players on it. And what I mean by selfish is like they play island playstyles. Does Dylan's playstyle fit FaZe? The problem is that if they drop Alec for Dylan, they're going to have a very weird problem on power positions with Dylan and MC. And so I don't think that would be their top go-to. But I see the upside with Dylan, right? You see the upside with Dylan. He knows all the guys. He won a COD Champs ring with Chris Crowder. So you got Instacam right there. Dylan's definitely improved a lot of his teammate stuff. I think when Dylan was first in the league and first a player, like he was not a player that like gone every day and was 100% for practice. So he's improved that, which is good. I see the fit, but Alec, to me, when Alec is at his best, like this team is very good. When Alec is confident and he's getting those boys in line, like they are very good. But I just don't, things can move fast. I don't see the Dylan to facing though, candidly. Anyway, attach Scrappy Hydra Afra. Again, my point on this one is, you guys you can't just say let's put 4 massively top slayers on the team and they'll figure it out. And this is not how it works. There's got to be a method to the madness, right? And you can say, "Oh, Ben, what about FaZe? That's 4 fucking slayers on the team." Well, there was a method to that fucking madness, and they put that together, that team, because they took a sub duo. They just won champs. This is the Modern Warfare team. They had MC and Preston, who are players that, and so no one had any idea in MW what the meta was going to be. So you had Preston and MC that could run anything, sub, AR, fucking sniper, and aren't slow players, and are good system players. And then they brought in Mike to be the AR. Now, Mike wasn't their first choice. We've talked about this. There are other players that they were picked up instead of Mike first, but then they picked up Mike. And so there's methods to that madness because the system made sense. Attached for TJ, I could see Dylan go to Boston. Touch on the Boston situation. I think they have a lot going for them in their camp. I think it's really hard to replace Nero and Vivid. You might have to kind of ride or die that because there aren't a lot of crazy subs out there unless you're picking up Hydra or Afro or something like that. So it's like, are you going to run it back with Zen and Tej? And yeah, that's the big question. Sky's going to be a hot commodity. I really like Caesar. I really want to see Caesar in a different camp. Who else are they considering? I said at 1,000 subs, I would tell its story. So let's get to 1,000 subs and then I'll tell the story. No, Eric, here's what I think is... I think option A for both teams is probably not making a change. The only change for FaZe, like they don't really need to do anything because if they're just going to run it back with Preston as their sub, Alex's brother, then they're kind of covered on that point to an extent. Because even when they suck, they're not sucking in 8th, they're sucking in 2nd, which is hilarious. Anyway. For Optic, the Ender thing is a huge thing that they need to address in its consistency, and that requires them to rotate him out of the lineup, they need to sign a hedge sooner rather than later. They can't, because the problem with waiting on subs is then if you want to make a change in March or April, every other team's trying to make a change. And so if there's a fucking like player out there that everybody wants, then you're not like at the top of that list. Now, Optic has kind of that, like you know, you could sit here and kind of big dick and say like, well, we're Optic, so like we're not going to have that issue, right? Like if we come and we say we want to pick you up, like you're going to tell everybody else to go F off. But that's not 100% either. So that's why I'm saying the hedge now is the safest play. So why would they want to give away Illy? I don't think you would give away Illy. My option A is like picking up a better. If you're not going to play General next season, if things go south, is as picking up at the beginning of the season or now a fifth player to be your sub. That like we talk about it again. This is going to be like one of those things that players cannot like wrap their heads around, and so I've argued this to the death, and it's never gonna win the argument against them, but it's fine. Is competition for places is super important. So I'll give you an example. Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham signed like 4 or 5 players in the offseason. Do you know what starting lineup they used yesterday in their first game? This is a Conte fucking masterclass, by the way. They basically ran back the lineup that they qualified for Champions League with last season. Because they're trying to create competition for places. And look, I get it. Does someone say 4v11? I get it. It's a little bit different in COD. I get it. But you do have a substitute spot. And it's not just a fucking thing that you should just give. You know, you need to make it be of value. Because you never know what's going to happen. And if the people in charge of controlling that roster and being the general manager of the roster, the smart, responsible thing to do, based on how the season is gone, and you know Inder's good, but you know that Inder can also drop a 0.8, is making sure that if we get to a situation where the team wants to play with somebody else, that we're valid. I mean, it's possible, Archer, but it's also possible, you know. Especially the lineup, they could have rolled out a little bit of a different lineup. Is all I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say, Embarrass. It's like you can't just roll in the season again with General as a sub, because they have shown for 3 years now that they do not want to run it with General. If they ever had to rotate someone out, so like you're just essentially just giving your subs. It's like pick up Maniac as your sub. It's like, well, like it's a ceremonial position. But then if you got to make a change, you got to actually find someone, which is like, you know what I mean? I would say keep Prolu because it's kind of a similar thing to Ender, but like it's the same problem as Ender because Prolu went to LAN and didn't play particularly good either. So I think if you told the fan base that that's your like hedge option, I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going. That was a long rant. Oh, by the way, Shotzi and Ender are free agents, but I don't think they go anywhere to that thread. So the only thing I'll push back on this, I agree with these two, but I don't agree with these two because I think these maps are way more 50-50 than you think. But the Berlins, yeah, these two Berlins needs way more, I think, of a FaZe advantage, but 4, I think, is a little bit of a stretch. But FaZe have to win the Tuscans. Like, I would describe this theory that definitely Thieves have a strong advantage in the map set. But the thing is, some of that shit goes out the fucking window. We saw that last year with finals. Like, Toronto started winning, like... Toronto won a couple of maps that I thought they weren't favored, like a Miami S&D, you know? FaZe clutched up on like an Express S&D. FaZe obviously smoked him on the raid hard point, but like, you know, there's variance. I could definitely see Boston moving on from Zen. I could definitely see it. And they need to win Gavitu and they need to win everything Tuscan. The Berlin, everything in Berlin except for Berlin S&D is a bonus map for them. And that's what you gotta tell yourself. They are the better team. Or can be the better team on Berlin. So we gotta play loose and we gotta play our system and not stress and just recognize that is we're the underdogs on that map and we are coming out to upset. But if they start taking fucking Berlins in this series, like if they win a fucking, and we have to see how the order of the maps, like, again, it's gonna be interesting to see Steve's team and how they're gonna react if they go down a couple in this. FaZe has been that way before. But I personally think at this moment in time, I think I would, if I had to be a betting man, I'm picking Thieves. Right now at this point in time. What's the best squad for next season? Realistically acquirable players. Bro, Dante's not even acquirable. Bro, how many... Bro. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. Because clearly we didn't have this conversation, y'all. If you go to my link tree, if someone wants to link my link tree in the chat, if you go to my link tree, you see right here. And you click this thing. This is your one stop on contract stuff. Now I still haven't figured out the fucking resituation. I actually need to update this because now Oh, that's for a Surge team? Oh, okay, I'm faded. Oh, Ender going to Surge? Nah, this team is so faded. Sib, Illy, Pred, Afro. The key thing on this team would be Afro and Illy are not the featured players on this team. I like Afro. My one thing with Afro, bro, that I saw a lot this weekend is he was really struggling to make the right decision on the map. And I would say putting him in this situation is a risk. Because you know Pred's hitting routes. So Afro's got to be really good about filling gaps and playing his life. If he sucks, then they're going to have zero sub pressure. Because Ender, again, not a 1-1-0 plus gazillion player. And Dante is also sometimes very streaky. Anyway. Toronto, Cammy, Scrappy, Hydra, Kleenex. That's definitely an interesting squad. Yeah, I would say I don't think Seattle's dropping Mac though. That would be interesting, but no. Surge, guys, come on, man. I don't see it. Dylan and Lamar are good friends. So I would say it would be insane to me if Dylan replaced his friend on Seattle, but I guess stranger things have happened. Player mental fortitude. Okay, this one ought to be good. Let me preface this by saying to a major blah 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 blah. I watch a lot of YouTube content. Players and texting the record saying, well, okay. how do I politely say what I want to say about this? Because my opinion is I don't necessarily disagree with what's being said here. And maybe that's a fire take or whatever. I said on the show yesterday, and I stand by it, and if anyone from that camp wants to debate me on it or provide evidence against, I'm happy to have them on the 101 show or on the flank. This is like the fourth season in a row now that's gone essentially the same way for the X-Course camp. It's all gone essentially the same way. The season starts, and they are committed to getting better, and they're professionals, and they're very good. They get good early. They recognize the game, what they need to do, their rules, all that shit. They do really good in the beginning of the season, but it is not a 2-month season. And then when you get to some of the slower parts of the season, they take their foot off the gas pedal, and they fall behind. And they struggle to catch back up. Legitimately since Black Ops 4, and you can maybe argue even longer beyond that. Now you can probably go all the way back to like World War II, honestly. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I've thought a lot about that. Guys. And here's what I'll say. And this might be a really controversial take, so feel free to roast. Yes, Ender did not play for 2 months, but Ender and ProLoot were players that were gap filling. Like that's the role they're playing on the team. And this is more so on the other 3 players falling behind, not necessarily Ender. So I don't agree with that assessment. I think that is definitely not helpful. I will say, yes, I agree. It probably didn't help not having him. But like, you can't sit here and tell me like, did they, even with all that shit going down, like they got a decent amount of practice with Ender at the end of the season. What does putting ProLoot in caps mean? ProLoot's a good player. And like I said, guys, earlier, like there's a lot more to the Ant situation. Like you watch him play. Trust me, we maybe I'll have to put a video about this because it's clear I gotta like have the convo. It's like, is it a situation where he's playing too fast, or are they doing stupid shit and he's just like, where the fuck is my team? Yeah, their S&D was good. It's the respawn was and that comes down to them being behind. No, Ann is not onliner, bro. Someone tweeted me the stats. Pat was fucking faded for saying that yesterday. Someone tweeted me the stats. Ann played good at LAN this year. So I don't know where that take came from. I have a bias against Optic or towards Optic. No, the problem is everybody else is fake about Optic. I just fucking spit truth and facts. Not to like toot my horn too much. I'm not afraid to speak my mind about what I think about their team. And it's both positive and negative. I think that people are afraid to gas them in the right ways and people are afraid to criticize them in the right ways. It's very odd. Those guys do a lot of stuff right as a team and as an org, but they also do a lot of stuff that they need to improve if they want to be a consistent contender. And that's my assessment of it. Anyway. Let's move on. The lack of trophy systems makes for an more enjoyable viewer experience. I don't agree with that take. I think trophies would be way better. But trophies are OP in this game. Because the problem with Pat is you got to remember that Pat has spent his whole career battling Optic and Optic fans, so he's got a specific way he's going to think about Optic. He's not going to change. He's just going to be that guy. And I don't blame him because like that's the bro. His DMs and his mentions historically from Optic fans probably are fucking horrendous. I would probably also have kind of like, you know what I mean? Do you think they mean Optic, Jake? Anyway, no. I think it's situational with trophies, and I also think theoretically, if they were good, trophies were good, it'd make the game a lot better. I don't like the nade spam bullshit. Like Tuscan Control will be way better with trophies. And by the way, that goes both ways, by the way, with trophies, FYI. It makes it easier to hold and harder to break. Keep in mind, you'll be able to drop trophies on fucking plat. Tuscan P5, you'd be able to put trophies on Tuscan P5. Last few times that Kenny's played Simp, is this the last two? These fans do not want to see this thread. Thanks, Jeff Fles. I can't pronounce that fucking name. Jay Fearless. I think Seth's got a couple of years. For Seth, it's like Seth still has it to compete at this level. It's just a question of, does he want to become the full entertainer, fucking making racks. But he's making money now, so. I think it's a much harder decision than you think. I just think that he's not. I'd be shocked if this was the season to go out on the way it went down. I would just be surprised if he decided to hang it up here. Obviously, I think we would all respect the decision either way. I think he's going to want to give it at least 1 year a go. It wasn't a bad year for Optic. I'd agree with that. It wasn't a bad year, but there are lessons to be learned, and you need to learn those lessons. Otherwise, we're going to be back having the same conversation in a year. Is what I would say is a fair take. Is playing for Optic worth it? Here's what I'll say about Optic, guys. Yes, it's worth it for 3 reasons. 1, brand exposure and getting your personality out there. 2, Hector is T2, if not T1 owner in esports. Y'all don't know the shit that this guy does for his players. This guy, whatever his players want to do outside the game, this guy will move heaven and earth to make those guys happy. That guy deeply cares about the people that play for his team, even if it's for 5 seconds. Other best owner, I think, it's the 2 guys that are friends, Hector and Paul Hamilton. Because Paul's the same way for the FaZe guys. Those two, if we're talking about CDL owners, those guys are T2. Hector's more obviously like a bigger name. Y'all don't really know Paul that much because he's a more behind the scenes guy. I think Matt's top 3. I think the Thieves players like Matt. But I think Paul and Hector probably T2. Rocker's got to be up there. They give a shit about their players too. They will do the... Listen, Brett's a guy that also deeply cares about his boys. And his org and his people. Pricks the fuck out of them and gives them whatever they want. Anyway, I get it. There's downside to Optic when you play bad. It's obviously, it is what it is. But yeah. It is worth playing for Optic. It is some of that. I don't know why people don't. MC plays on 10-6, guys. You watch him play. Do you see how fast he turns around? The horizontal sense, not the vertical sense. This is legit. MC's always done crazy. Go back and look at his sensitivity historically, in every game. But this guy's always doing oddball shit. This guy, champs, Atlanta. Oh my god. Thieves, MC, rookie of the year, Gizmo, close. Most improved player, Illy. Okay. Overachieving team, London. Underachieving, Minnesota. That was actually pretty close. Jonesy, if you ask like almost anyone in the league, they'll tell you he's probably the hardest kill. Anyway, this is pretty good. Damn, why are we disrespecting JHB, bro? What the fuck? JHB's the fucking homie. How's Ender even see? Dude, Ender's wild with how much he leans in. Obviously, if FaZe win, we get 7 winners. That's crazy. You know, we've never seen that before. Another Optic. I'm tired of talking about Optic shit, bro. We're gonna have to record a video in like 30 minutes. So like, or actually, we should do it in like 10 minutes. Seattle's a team that was waiting on for WrestleMania. I don't think so. Who is JHB? JHB works for 100 Thieves. He works in their social department. He just like JHB started hanging out. Like, I don't know the full story about how he got in that camp, but he was hanging out with like the mob guys and a lot of Thieves guys. You see Showtime is, I know what they're announcing today because I was working on that before I left, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get sued. So you're not going to get an answer from me. Yeah, he's in with the mob guys, and then you know. The Optic starter pack. So that'll be good. Pat beating them. This is a tough image, man. I want to watch this. Exceed and Brack explain what went into winning Challengers Champs, which by the way was crazy yesterday. I don't know if y'all watched. Toronto Ultra Academy NA was like the dominant team, and they lost to a team that had been a team for like a few weeks. But let's take a peep.
The first thing that I did when I was after we lost Boston, I went to Carson and I said, "Yo, we're teaming." So we kind of
Carson's Brack.
You know, when we first formed, like the whole like pickup team thing, like it did not feel like that. Like we almost like instantly clicked. We worked really well together. And I think the biggest thing was that like with how everything went, everybody had to put their heads on straight because you know a lot of the people that we played were former teammates, and we just wanted to put them down. So,
oh shit, my bad, guys. My bad. We'll start over. I'm sorry.
The first thing that I did when I was after we lost Boston, so I went to Carson and I said, "Yo, we're teaming." So we kind of put this together, and you know, when we first formed, like the whole like pickup team thing, like it did not feel like that. Like we almost like instantly clicked. We worked really well together. And I think the biggest thing was that like with how everything went, everybody had to put their heads on straight because you know a lot of the people that we played were former teammates, and we just wanted to put them down so bad. So it was just a lot of hard work.
Yeah, a lot of people doubted us. I think everyone in their bracket had us placing somewhere between
6th.
I don't know if I saw any top 4 finishes. I saw a lot of top 6 and top 8. And I don't know why, because of our online performances. We beat Toronto Ultra twice in that 8K pickup team, but the past 2-3 weeks.
I mean, the process was we need to make a team so we don't have to play the LCQ. That was the process. But it worked out. Let's see him tweet. Yeah, this is, I agree with Sam on this. That's fucking faded. I'm hitting the venue probably 10:30, so in like 2 hours. Exceed gets a spot. It's possible. It's possible. The Ellie Streak usage, yeah, that was definitely an interesting call. I'll just say that. Oh, I haven't seen this. Reaction to FaZe coaching staff. Dude, this guy Chris has leaned heavy into that fucking TV. This guy's doing the fucking illy, bro. This guy is leaned in. If LA Thieves lose tomorrow, Kenny will break the 7-way tie for the most champs grand finals losses. The reset in challengers, what's my opinion? Like, should we do 2 best of 5s? I mean, my process is I'm not a fan. I get the best of 9 thing, guys. The second BO5s are tough. From a content perspective, you lose about 20 to 30% viewership on that second video for a second best of 5. And viewership does not really grow going on second best of 5. So I understand some of the thought process. I don't necessarily agree with it because I think that shit doesn't matter. I think competitive integrity is more important, but sure. I don't like, my problem with the BO9 right now is that I think it, there's not really like a big advantage from winners. I feel like, but I don't think I think it's gonna stick. Like I don't think they're going back to 2 best of 5s or 2 best of 7s or whatever. I think this best of 9 thing's locked until someone comes up with a better idea. That's not the 2 things I named. And a continuation series would also not be it. And I'm saying that because it's like, again, I personally don't like it, but I don't see it changing. MC's already used some of his spots, FYI. There's still a couple that I haven't seen him use yet. MC's got a lot of players, so I'll give the window in this because I think it's fucking hilarious. And I'll get interview players after and they'll expose. As you guys know, if you played this game, there are really good spots that you can use that make you hard to be seen. Like 1 pixel spots, really good head glitches. There's obviously auto aim spots. And there are a lot of spots on the map where you can see names through walls. You guys have probably gotten confused at times if you watch or if you play this game, you know what I'm talking about. Like there are weird areas of geometry where you can sometimes see names through walls. And that like low key is fucking, every team does this, by the way. This is not just like an MC thing or what, literally all 12 teams abuse these fucking spots. You just can't see it on the observer client, but they all do it. MC's used a couple, he hasn't used all of them. Yeah, this game's interesting. Well, how you, I think some are GA. The problem is like this is where the GAs get murky, bro, is the issue. So. Okay, it's 8:30. So here's the dealio. I need to record this Optic. So what I want to do